What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Dirty Bird Fly Through. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share out. And we have 2 weeks left in this 2025 Falcons season. It has obviously been a disappointing season. There were, definitely some high points, but there have definitely been a lot more low points in this season. It's been a roller coaster of a ride, but with 2 weeks left, the Falcons have an opportunity to finish the season strong. They're riding a 2 game winning streak, and they welcome the Los Angeles Rams into the bins this week in a very big Monday night football game. The last of 5 Falcons primetime games for this season. So let's get right into it. Taking a look at the injury report, and for both teams, um, definitely still some things to note. Drake London, he is questionable for the game on Monday with the knee injury he's been dealing with. He did return last week versus the Cardinals, but the Falcons are still playing it cautious. James Pierce Jr. with a neck injury, he is questionable for the game on Monday. Clark Phillips, he has been ruled out along with Mike Hughes. Kyle Pitts, he did pop up on the injury report. You'd assume he is good to go. Sam Roberts, the offensive lineman, he has also been ruled out. As far as the Los Angeles Rams go, the big name is Devontae Adams. He has been a red zone machine for this Rams offense all year long. He has been one of the best in the NFL for many years, coming over to the Rams this year. And the Falcons catch a break. He is doubtful to play in this game, and if the Falcons want any chance to pull off the upset, it definitely helps that Devontae Adams is not playing. Now, the thing is, obviously, this is the last primetime game for the Falcons this year. The Falcons, in primetime, have done exceptionally well. They have went 3-1 in primetime. That lone loss being to the 49ers on Sunday night, but every other game against the Vikings in week 2, they won. Against the Bills in week 6, they pulled off that shocking upset victory that looked to finally be a turning point for this Falcons franchise, but obviously it just turned out to be a sense of false hope. And then 2 weeks ago versus the Buccaneers, they did pull out the upset win in Tampa. And it's also the last time this season that the Falcons will be wearing those glorious, beautiful red helmets that, I'm going to be completely honest, the more and more that I see them, initially I was opposed to making them permanent. I thought that they should just be a special occasion uniform 3 times a year. The more and more I see them, the more I actually wish that they are permanent. Maybe the Falcons, and it is rumored that the Falcons will finally be getting new uniforms this offseason. Do the Falcons maybe add in a modern design to that throwback uniform, or potentially could the Falcons just go back to that throwback uniform and the throwback logo? I think with where the Falcons have been the past several years, there needs to be a complete facelift, and I would not be one bit opposed to actually going back to that old logo now. I think there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's very sharp. It looks beautiful. The field looks beautiful, and I don't think there's a problem with it at all. So if the Falcons were to decide to go back to those red helmet throwbacks and make them their permanent uniforms, or bring in a modern, updated design of them, still with the current logo, would not be one bit opposed. I think that's the direction the Falcons should head in this offseason. One or the other way, the Falcons need to do that. Now, the Falcons have shown improvement the last couple weeks. They're on a 2 game winning streak. They had a win in Tampa against the Buccaneers by 1 point, and they went out to Arizona and they got a victory. Now, has it been 2 impressive wins? Honestly, I would probably say not. Sure, you have seen a lot of playmakers show off in those games. Kyle Pitts had a signature game in that Buccaneers game, and Bijan Robinson, a homecoming in Arizona, he had a very stellar performance out there also, carrying the Falcons offense. But I would not necessarily say that it has per se been impressive victories. But a win is a win in this league, and We understand the current state that the Falcons are in. It's obviously very frustrating. The Falcons, they're not fighting for playoffs. They've been eliminated for the 8th consecutive year. And you're really, at this point, just looking for things to grasp onto heading into the future. But, we have still seen some guys come along. Obviously, James Pierce Jr. has had an amazing rookie year. Brandon Dorlus has had a nice breakout year. Jalen Walker has also had a very nice rookie year. Same with a guy like Xavier Watts. You've seen a lot of growth, especially from the defense side of the football. And on the offensive side, you've seen Kyle Pitts have a resurgence. Bijan Robinson is having a career year. So, there have been positives, but at the end of the day, it's very hard to be moved by these types of victories when you consider the overall body of work of the Falcons this year. The fact that the Falcons, they had opportunities to win games against the Jets, against the Panthers at home. They weren't able to. That is the difference between the Falcons, being eliminated for now coming up on a month versus competing still for a very lackluster NFC South. And that's what is, I think, very frustrating when you look at where the Atlanta Falcons season has gone. And it even makes these last two victories kind of feel bittersweet in a sense of where was this type of energy earlier in the year where you were able to close out these games and make those big plays late. Now, in this game, the Falcons are facing a completely different beast than they were, especially out in Arizona a week ago. They are facing the man who is probably going to take home the NFL MVP when it's all said and done in Matthew Stafford. He has had an absolutely phenomenal season at age 38, I want to say. 37 or 38, Matthew Stafford is still tearing it up. And Puka Nacua has easily been probably the best receiver in the NFL this year, right there with JSN at least. And he is coming off an absolute monster game against the Seahawks where he went for over 200 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. And this is without a doubt the best offense I think the Falcons are probably going to face all year. Sean McVay is the best coach in the NFL. Sean McVay has experience with this coaching staff with Zach Robinson. He essentially taught Zach Robinson, just about the 2% that he knows, that Zach Robinson displays. He learned that all from Sean McVay. He is the bottom of the totem pole in terms of this McVay coaching tree. And Raheem Morris also spent 3 years with Sean McVay in LA. He knows these guys. This is his own coaching tree. So you best believe that Sean McVay is going to come in here. You have a Rams team that is pissed off coming out of that loss to the Seahawks. They are now most likely going to be playing on Wild Card Weekend. It'll be interesting to see how they approach this game, maybe in terms of the aggressiveness they take in terms of, the style that they play. How aggressive are they going to want to be, knowing that they're probably going to either Philadelphia or the winner of the NFC South for this wild card game coming up in 2 weeks. But listen, the Rams are still going to come in here and play pissed off just because they're not happy about that loss to the Seahawks. And this is going to present a big challenge for the defense. I mean, when you are talking about the fact that this Falcons defense has been pretty solid this year for the most part. Sure, there have been some lowlights, but this defense has shown a lot of growth. But you got to admit that this defense is facing their biggest challenge all year in the Los Angeles Rams. And being able to stop Puka Nacua, stop Matthew Stafford. I mean, at the end of the day, you're not shutting down Puka Nacua. It's just about limiting the big plays and the impact that he's able to make on this game. The Rams are also able to do with damage with their running game, with Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. They are a very prolific offense. They can beat you whatever which way. And the fact that Devontae Adams is out, yes, it helps, but it doesn't make it really that much easier when you still look at what you have to ultimately deal with when you're playing the Los Angeles Rams any week. And this is a Rams team that is going to want to show the entire world that no, they are not dropping off. They are not dipping in the most important time of the year. The Rams view this as a ramp-up game, essentially. You're going to see Matthew Stafford try to get Puka Nacua involved. A.J. Terrell is going to be attacked. This is going to probably be A.J. Terrell's toughest task of the season, because when you look at a Puka Nacua, I'm looking at Julio Jones. I'm looking at Megatron. That is the type of player that Puka Nacua is. And that's why I say, you're not shutting him down. It's just about how much can you truly limit the impact that he makes in this game. And also, it's kind of been talked about all year long, but the Rams are also playing to get better draft positioning. The Falcons' first round pick in April belongs to the Rams. Now, I'm completely fine with not having that first round pick. I am completely okay with James Pierce Jr. and Xavier Watt. The national media will not tell you that those guys have had pretty solid rookie seasons and are going to be core pieces of this defense for years to come. But still, the Rams have an opportunity to potentially improve that first round pick by winning and knocking the Falcons down with another loss up the draft board, which is their pick, because they could have an opportunity to potentially draft another special offensive player or one of the top defensive players coming out of college in April. So the Rams have all the stakes to win this game, and it's another spot for the Falcons to play spoiler. Now, I'm fully expecting that in this game you're going to see the Falcons make Bijan Robinson the story of the night. The Falcons have playmakers. They have Drake London, who is still battling that injury and it honestly looked like in the game against the Cardinals, he may have re-aggravated it a little bit. That might be why he's questionable. I would still probably expect him to play. Kyle Pitts, he is having his best season maybe of his career when you factor in everything, especially over these last few weeks. He has been red hot. But at the end of the day, it all starts and ends with 7 in this offense. And I would not be shocked if Bijan gets around 30 touches in this game. The Falcons, I think, it's not talked about a whole lot, but Bijan Robinson, it's a slim chance, but he still has a chance if the Falcons were to feed him a lot, especially in the receiving game, to become only the 4th player in NFL history to reach that 1,000 mark. 1,000 rushing yards, 1,000 receiving yards. And with a Falcons team that obviously is still playing for pride, but more notably, we know how much pride they take into Bijan Robinson. It would not shock me one bit if we see the Falcons attempt to try to really get him to that mark. And that would probably mean seeing Bijan in space a lot. Kicking him out as a receiver, maybe a lot of 5 wide sets. That is what we could definitely see in this game, along with the fact that Kyle Pitts is still going to want to get his. Drake London, if he is playing, this just feels like a Drake London spot to go off prime time. We're wearing the red helmets. We're at home. It truly does feel like a spot that Drake London thrives in. So the Falcons playmakers definitely are still going to have opportunities in this game. I mean, the Rams defense has been shaky, especially last week versus Seattle. And you factor in another primetime game this time. Granted, they have extra rest, but you're having to come across the country. This could be a showcase game for a lot of the Falcons' skill position players. But I think what's most important for Raheem Morris is this is really, I think, going to put into perspective just how much improvement this Falcons team has potentially made, and how much this Falcons team is really bought in to Raheem Morris these past couple weeks, in sense of not giving up and never really giving in, kind of like they did earlier in the year against the Panthers or against the Dolphins. You want to see the Falcons come out, and you really want to see how they perform. What does the body of work look like? Because that is, I think, going to be crucial in determining if Raheem Morris is going to get another year. And I made my opinion perfectly clear on Raheem Morris, but at the end of the day, there's still an evaluation going on. And Arthur Blank has brought in Sportology, a consulting firm. You best believe that there's going to be representation from that firm sitting there in that suite on Monday night, and they're going to be evaluating Raheem Morris. They're going to be evaluating the performance of this Falcons team, and that's going to go a very long way, especially on national TV, of does Raheem Morris get that third year or not, whether any of us like it or not. How the Falcons perform in this game could be a big indicator if Raheem Morris gets that third year. Now, going into the players to watch for both teams, and for the Falcons, I'm going with Darnell Mooney. It feels like a spot I talked about earlier, the playmakers. Kyle Pitts, Drake London, obviously Bijan. Darnell Mooney has had a very silent season. He has not gotten a lot of opportunities. It's definitely been a down year for him. There's, I think, a lot of questions of if, per se, he is even, the same player. Is he on the Falcons next year in 2026? But it really feels like with all the looks that and the attention that guys like Bijan and Pitts and Drake London could get, Darnell Mooney, this could be a spot for him, especially on prime time at home. I would expect that Kirk Cousins is going to give him some looks, and Darnell Mooney might have some opportunities. It's just going to be all about capitalizing on those opportunities, kind of like he did against the Saints. He got some looks, and, the opportunities he had to make, he made the most of some of those opportunities. He had the long touchdown in that game. It could be a similar type game for him, so it's going to be interesting to see how Darnell Mooney comes out in a game that could also really judge his future in Atlanta or even potentially his future somewhere else in 2026, depending on what the Falcons want to do this offseason. But as far as the Rams go, it's a very familiar face to us. It's Nate Landman. We let go of Nate Landman this offseason. He went over to Los Angeles, and he has been having a breakout year with the Rams. He leads them in tackles, and he's going to be the guy that's tasked with really shutting down the Falcons' operation on offense in the middle of the field, especially when it comes to shutting down Bijan Robinson. And he practiced against Bijan in practice every day for 2 years. So you have to believe that he's going to want to come, especially coming back to Atlanta. He's going to want to prove something and want to prove the Falcons why they made a stupid mistake in letting him go. Even though the Falcons have gotten very solid play out of Divine Diablo, and he has been one of the best players on defense all year, Nate Landman is still going to want to make the Falcons look like idiots for letting him go. Now, getting into the keys to victory, going over to the chalkboard. The first key to victory, and I've been touching on it, feed the playmakers. Bijan, Drake, Pitts, Mooney. Someone could very well be open. This is a game for Kirk Cousins that he's thrived in the past. Granted, Kirk, early in his career, has not had that great of history on Monday night, but it really feels like previously, especially, you look at the 2 Monday night games the Falcons played last year, they won. The Monday night game the Falcons played earlier this season against the Bills, they won. And they did it because they were able to get the ball into the hands of their playmakers, into the hands of Bijan, into the hands of Drake. And if you're going to stand a chance against this Rams team, you're just going to have to meet fire with fire. You're going to have to feed your playmakers. Drake, Bijan, Pitts, and Darnell Mooney really could end up being the X factor in this game. The second key to victory is you have to limit the Rams' possessions. You have to sustain long drives on offense. You have to maintain control of the game early if you're going to win this type of game. That is where you're going to be most comfortable. You have an opportunity to, you pin the Rams back. That is where you stand a best chance to put more pressure on that offense and potentially be able to really limit the impact and the damage they are able to make. And third and finally, you have to play disciplined football. You cannot come out playing sloppy. You can't make a lot of penalties, make those stupid mistakes. You have to play discipline, you have to play consistent, and you really have to prove that you still know what your worth is, even in a game where it may not mean a lot to you. It's just like against Tampa. We have an opportunity to potentially spoil the Rams, spoil some of that momentum, some of that morale that they have. Also, an opportunity to run that draft pick that everyone loves talking about. Now, in the end, what is going to end up happening in this game? And I truly do feel like that the Falcons are going to come out at least early on, and I could see this Falcons team keeping it close. I do think that you're going to see the Falcons come out. You're going to see them keep it close with the Rams. I wouldn't be shocked if it's like a tied game going in a half, but in the end, you have to realize this is a Rams team that they have to get right. This is a get right spot for them, and in the end, when you combine obviously the Stafford Nakua connection along with the fact that the Rams can really run it down your throat, I think that is where Los Angeles is going to be able to take control of this game in the second half and is going to come out with the victory. So I'm going to pick the Rams to win 34-24. I do think that the Falcons could stay in it, maybe really up until the fourth quarter. But I do think that in the end, the Rams are going to come out and they're going to get the victory. But with that being said, I appreciate everyone for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share out, and I will see you all in the next video.